okay, I'm recording, Mr. Chair.
We'll wait till the public is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, James went to get it.
Is there a thermostat in this room?
Is that,
I found one.
is this
Oh,
the,
maybe we're in business.
is this the public, out the rest of the public?
Dan tried to move it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we're from 66 to 70 now. Woohoo!
Get it up in here.
You'll jump
Oh, here
back.
comes some.
It'll jump back?
Yeah, I think he tried to move it already. It thinks for itself.
Okay, there's got to be a way.
That's probably some illegal code.
Okay, we'll call the regular session back to order. And moving on to item 17, discussion of conflict of interest regarding Director Driscoll. Mr. Joseph.
Okay. Prior to our June meeting of this year, Director Driscoll asked to put together what he called a stakeholder meeting, which basically turned out to be a collection of government bureaucracies to try to gin up support for various projects to be funded by this board. The June meeting ended up being attended by various government representatives. There were several presentations that were made. Two of them were directly by Director Driscoll. Approximately half of the total presentations that were made were had USGS involvement. There was concern on the part of myself about the at least the appearance of a conflict of interest by Director Driscoll for his involvement in that, both putting the meeting together and his participation in the meeting and the participation of the USGS. That issue was brought forward as an agenda item at our September meeting. It was clear at the beginning of that meeting that there was concern on the part of Director Driscoll. That issue was brought forward as a potential agenda item. Director Driscoll immediately indicated that he was going to have to leave the meeting early, which would basically preclude a quorum of that meeting and shut that meeting down. As a result of Director Driscoll's response that he was going to need to leave the meeting early, that agenda item was moved to the top of the agenda. Shortly thereafter, Director Driscoll left the room. It was an obvious attempt to shut down any discussion on that subject and stop the meeting at that point. From my perspective, that was a huge red flag. I think based on that, I think there should be a sanction placed against Director Driscoll of some kind. From my perspective, he should be precluded from participation in the board for some time. And so I guess I would make a motion that we preclude Director Driscoll from participating in the actions or attendance of this board through the rest of this year. And then we could further evaluate that next year.
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Motion's made and seconded. And Dan's putting up the motion.
Could you please repeat that, Director Joseph?
To suspend him for the December meeting pending further evaluation.
Does that summarize it pretty good?
Yes.
Discussion on the motion. Yes.
I think myself was a little disheartened at most to finally discover what Mr. Driscoll does for USGS. He didn't even want to tell me the truth, that he specifically uses the data and analyzes the data from the studies that we pay for, which is basically funding part of his part-time day job, that without our study, some of his time may not be necessary.
Any other discussion?
I think that we also need to discuss, not what Dan Driscoll did this time, but the fact that we don't have, our bylaws do not include the appearance of a conflict of interest, and that is what I think caused the issue from the start. I believe Dan was honest in his desire to bring us ideas, and I agree that they should have been brought by others. But I would like to see this board come up with a clear and concise set of words to provide this with a definition for a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Nay.
Or nay, yeah, nay. Roll call, please.
Okay, roll call. On the motion to suspend Director Driscoll from the December meeting. Bierke,
No.
Driscoll,
No.
Jovic,
Anything
I've
to
got a
add?
question about, does Director Driscoll get to vote on a motion to suspend himself? That seems, again, inappropriate. I'm voting yay.
Rollinger,
He dropped off.
Williams,
Yes.
Mack,
No.
Iolata,
Yes.
Harris,
No.
Coth.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. A couple of things from my comments. I don't know if the board has had a chance to go out to Canyon Lake and observe the dredging project that's going on by these.
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Williams had some further information for that last agenda item that maybe we should, or I will make an amendment to set up a committee to revisit, reevaluate, and get a new definition for our conflict of interest bylaw.
Well, I would suggest that Director Williams bring that up under his items, not on the.
Under this, under Director's comment?
Yeah.
Well, we can't have an
can't
action
act-
item off the agenda.
Are you looking for an action item?
That
I would
I
think-
asked for a vote.
Yeah. Did you make a motion for that?
I did.
And was that in order?
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. Nope. I don't know.
I miss a motion.
Yep.
I
Well,
guess
we
we
voted.
need a motion. What was the motion?
The motion was to set up a committee to reevaluate, rewrite, and adjust and present to the board a new or revised.
Yes.
That's fine, but you don't need a motion to make a committee.
Well, I'm going to make the motion that we do fix or revise our bylaws for the conflict of interest to include appearance. So then someone as a committee will have to write it and present it to the board.
Okay, did you get the motion?
But I'd like to have
Did
the
mo-
lawyer help us with that as well.
Absolutely.
Was there a second to that motion?
I'd second it.
Okay, you seconded the motion. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Need to get the motion here.
To revise the bylaws specifically regarding the conflict of interest and appearance of conflict of interest.
And do we have to add with review of our lawyer?
Right. With the assistance of the attorney, so that'll be approval of attorney spending.
Matt, do you have any kind of idea what that would cost to do this?
No. I think it would depend on, obviously, the volume, the extent to which you want it to.
I think if we can use the state and federal as a template,
And I
and
think certainly there are going to be applicable templates that contain the language that the board.
make sure we
desires.
focus on the appearance
Okay.
as well.
I mean, is it going to be $2,000, $1,000, or don't you have any idea?
I think it's pretty difficult to say.
Okay.
I think in that range, 1,000 to 2,000, I think I will be aware of costs, be cognizant of costs moving forward, and a lot of that will come from the direction of those involved and the breadth of their requests for review and discussion with me, I guess.
Okay. That just,
It's kind of a non-answer, I understand.
you know, a bit, you know, we're spending money, so it's,
Well, how about if the committee came up with a good,
No more than $2,000.
well, I mean,
I can't
I
imagine it
mean, the
going over
language
8
that you're
hours.
looking for, maybe spell out a good
Yeah.
draft.
I mean, it's
and
just
then
on the open
and
sky,
then
you know.
Mr. Nas looks at it after that.
I think-
But
I
you don't
think-
create it.
I think clearly the precision of the direction will reduce the costs.
okay.
Yeah, so that's what
So
we
the
use.
committee could be
Committee
as
to send it
concise
to
as
the
they can.
attorney. The attorney revises it for any loopholes or errors and submits it back to us.
Okay.
Probably would limit him to a couple hours.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? Any more discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, now.
Director Rollinger's.
He dropped off the
Dropped
floor.
off.
It's probably bedtime. So anyway, I was out to the lake today, and the Game Fish and Parks is proceeding with the dredging project. They're, somebody said about 25% or 30% done. They're getting close to that jetty out there, so they're making progress. But it's going to take them a while to finish that project. Second thing is, I did attend the Pennington County Conservation District meeting this week, and just to see what they had going on. And they appreciate. I did give them a little report on the dredging at that meeting. So, and Director Driscoll was there also in that meeting. That's all I have. Items from directors. Anybody have an item for this evening? Ron?
Just a note, I got a call from the Norbeck Society, and they're sponsoring a public session. We've heard some of it before, and some of the directors heard Rosemary's Close and heard thesis defense for a project that we're funding on how to maybe alternatively use the water system or manage the water system in Deerfield and Pactola. So Thursday night over at the outdoor campus, Dr. Waterman and Rosemary are going to make a presentation. And I took a picture of the poster because I couldn't remember what time it was, and now I'm seeing the poster is fuzzy. But if you look on the Norbeck Society website, I'm sure that they'll have that announcement. But it's this Thursday night, kind of early in the evening, and I would encourage folks to go. When I attended Rosemary's thesis defense, it was very very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Nathan?
There was a mention earlier of a educational convention that was held in Box Elder a couple of weeks ago to discuss the Missouri River Pipeline project. I thought it was received well. There were several comments that I heard from different people that they were very pleased that the meeting was held, and that they thought it was a good first step. They were interested in seeing the project move forward. I was disappointed in our board, especially given some of the discussion that we've had about people. I think everybody here was in attendance at the June meeting where we had government agencies collected to, so-called stakeholders collected to discuss projects. And here in Box Elder, there were actual stakeholders, people that were actually in need of directly of this potential project, and it was Dan Mullally and me, and nobody else was there. So that seemed odd to me. And I know that some people were out of town and whatnot, but anyway, it was received well. We had good turnout there from the people that I think we needed to have there. Kasai was there from Thune's office, and that's obviously a heavy hitter for us. And that email came out today, Mr. Bliss, I guess, from
Senator
Rounds, thank you, office wants to get together with us, and I think that might be a good opportunity to discuss this potential project with him. So that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else?
I guess if there is, I don't know where I'll be able to be in attendance, but if there is some meeting with this Mr. Bliss, the presentation and the information that Dr. Waterman and his student has developed would be equally important to discuss, as it could involve a federal nexus with differences and changes in management at Bechtel and Deerfield, both federal managed reservoirs under the Bureau of Reclamation.
Good point. James, did you have something?
I was just going to mention the Bliss meeting. I definitely want to be in attendance. I am free that day, and I know Bob.
I am too.
So
I'd like to be there too.
So who's going to contact him? Are you going to contact him then?
I'll try to set that up, yeah.
At our office?
I will set it up, yeah.
Okay. And that's
That would be 2 p.m. is what he said.
Yeah. Does that work for everybody? Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Bob?
I'd like to thank our attorney, Matt, for coming to this evening's meeting, and I hope we get a chance to work with him in the future. And thank you.
I wonder, do we need to establish a committee here this evening for that?
Sure.
Any volunteers
I'm sorry?
for this meeting with on conflict of interest with our attorney? Have we made a motion?
I'd be happy to participate. I don't know if I can be at a meeting, but I can do it online.
Bob?
I'd like
We
to.
should probably have at least, I'd say, 3 board members.
We can do it by
3 or
phone.
maybe 4.
3 or 4, no more than 4.
You had me, right?
You volunteering?
Oh, yeah.
So we got Bob.
Yep.
Anybody else?
You had me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I volunteered also.
And they
Do you want to check with Steve? He actually might be able to. It sounds like he's pretty
Yeah,
active. If he can leave, might ask him.
yeah. Okay.
So for the minutes, who do I put down?
The 3 of us.
Nathan, James, and Robert. Okay. We should have probably done that earlier, but anything else from directors? How about items from the admin? Oh, Dan?
We deferred on my item during the break, I conferred with the other directors that are part of the committee for the admin contract, and we'll find the time and get together and report back next month.
Oh, okay. Anything from the admin tonight?
A few things. I'll try to speak up so the mic picks it up. I try not to sign checks with occasion. The exception is sometimes I need office supplies and it's inconvenient to try to drag Director Harris along, so I bought some toner, spent a couple $100 on that. Toner's kind of pricey, but it lasts a while. Just wanted to mention that, though. I was at the Fox Elder meeting with Director Joe that was talking about. I thought it was very interesting, and most of the people, there wasn't a lot of negative comments about it. There were a lot of comments as to potential problems, but there was a lot of consensus that it was worth looking into. I thought it was interesting, the guys doing the Red River Valley project. It sounds like North Dakota's just funded it all on their own, and that's helping out their schedule quite a bit. And that was one of the decisions they made, was to not try to get federal money, otherwise it would slow things way down, if I heard it right.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Sure.
Real quick?
Sure.
I thought it was interesting, all of the projects that North Dakota has already done or initiated. So they've got basically a pipeline from around the Bismarck area that goes up to the northwest part of the state, southwest part of the state, and now they're looking at going to the eastern part of their state. So I think they're way ahead of us as far as looking at using their water resources to serve the people of the state of North Dakota. In our case, we kind of have the eastern part of our state covered, but the western part of the state is really in need. North Dakota did the western part of their state first, which is probably what we should have done.
Actually, there's some communities in northwest South Dakota that are on that North Dakota, southwest North Dakota system.
No?
And it's been in place. It's been in place for quite a few years.
Sure. Yep.
It's a good
Of course, they
project.
have a lot of money, too.
They've got a lot of money.
That's true. Yeah, and that's why they're funding that project themselves.
So another question I have with that is how do you sell that water? Can you go a mile down the pipeline and start selling it? They implied there were ways, but it's never clear to me.
It'd be based on a rate study,
Yeah.
rate structure.
But if it's for the West Dakota Water Development District and you're a mile from here, does that?
It's our pipe.
We'd have to figure out
Yeah.
what the charge
So
is.
anyway,
You pay
just
for,
thoughts
pay for the
there.
tap, you pay for the usage.
And I did go to Rosemary Schools' thesis and Director
As soon as it goes in our pipe.
Director both were there. And
Good.
just one question I had about that is, I hate to see that
Board
work,
funds
just
it.
people graduate, directors change, I change.
Depends if the state-
In 10 years down the road, is anybody going to be able to resurrect that? And
It gets a little more.
one of the deliverables on it is a
Explain that to the
file of
city, they have no
parameters that
problem
they're going to give us, and we can run the software if somebody wants to figure it out. That's basically what we're going to get on that.
And they have the infrastructure.
Okay.
Not all of it, that was
So,
funded infrastructure.
Another,
City
let me,
overhead.
I got some notes here. The admin meeting in Pier that Jay Gilbertson set up, I just highlighted a few things he wants to talk about, expanding the Vermilion Basin Water Development District. We did talk about director vacancies, and he wants to try to clean up the state statute that uses the word disability. And then he also mentioned the water protection program, watershed protection program staff providing an update on a rotating basis water sampling program. And that will be, I plan on going there on December 1st, and then we'll meet December 2nd, and I'll drive back that same day, December 2nd. I think one of my jobs is to try to use our money wisely. And I made a little spreadsheet here on how we might better invest the money. Right now, I called the bank and got all the rates on the CDs they offer. Right now, we're getting about 0.25% interest. And we have an average, I looked back for 3 years, and we averaged about $429,000 in our bank account. And I think we might want to consider putting some of that money into CDs. So without, obviously there are countless possibilities here, but I just ran through one scenario. Let's say we put, this kind of got broken into 2 pages. So let's say we put 100,000 into a 12-month CD and 100,000 into a 24-month, and then we could renew the 12-month. And just taking that scenario and the approximate interest, we could make $2,900 a year, and so we'd lose a little interest on the savings account because we're pulling it out of that. So say we're going to make $2,700 or so, and we'd still have, if we look at what we've averaged, we'd still have about $239,000 in readily available cash. If we have to cash that in early, we lose 180 days of interest. So if you cash it in within 6 months, you lose, it'll start to cut into your principal, but after that, there's no penalty really other than, there's a penalty in the interest, but not in the principal. I talked to Jay Gilbertson as to, is this something there's any problem with doing? He goes, oh, no, not at all. We do that kind of stuff too. So just something to think about.
I think it's a good idea.
I think Director Jovic had
I just wanted to get confirmation. Are you aware of any problem with that at all?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I know different boards do it all the time.
It gets done with some frequency, is my understanding.
Okay. I know when I was in federal service, we could not invest dollars. We'd have millions of dollars sitting in bank accounts, and we couldn't make a penny out of it. So.
Okay, well.
Yeah, that's federally, not the
Right.
state.
Yeah, Jay Gilbertson
Because the banks
was
are
pretty
federally
out of
run,
it. He
that's
said
why.
no problems.
What's that?
Yeah, that's my understanding. It's done with some frequency, but again, they sit here right now. I don't know any
Yeah.
specific authorization.
That was federal dollars. So
Yeah, I would be
director bylaws.
So I don't really want to undertake this by myself, and I don't know if Director Rollinger is available to work with me since he's the treasurer.
Yeah, I
And if
can,
you want to authorize both of us to make that decision, and it takes
Go through the
actually
board.
the 3 signatories on an account to do this. So.
okay. What, James,
I would suggest we put it on the agenda next month.
you can do that?
Okay.
Yeah, put it
That
on.
we can make it an actionable item and just
Sounds
do it
sounds
as a
good.
board.
We'll put it on the December agenda then. Very good.
Can we back up? Since Dan is not going to be in the office on Monday, December 2nd, and that's what I said I wanted these forms, why don't we just go with Thursday of that week, so it'd be on the 4th?
On December?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're going to drop them off at his office, just have them there at least by the 4th of December.
Okay.
Just put them under the door and whatever.
But I will be picking them up on the 4th
Yeah.
then.
We'll put a lock on the suitcase. You can have handcuffs.
Sounds good. Dan?
Just a question relative to your last topic. Where is it that we do our banking?
It's at the Black Hills Community Bank.
Yeah.
It might be worth checking with Black Hills Federal Credit Union what they're currently paying on their regular high-yield savings accounts. It seems like it's a fair amount more than this 0.25%.
Well, I banked at the Black Hills Federal Credit Union, and it was, what they called high yield was pretty small.
They're all small, but I was thinking it was more in the vicinity of 1%.
Oh, you're talking about the same, yeah.
I think like 1.75, I've got an account there.
There's
For
different
CDs.
thresholds of
For
So
CDs.
That's a
just
good
a high
point.
yield
So
savings.
you have to have a $100,000 revolving minimum.
I basically just
25,000.
checked the
Yeah, it's
CDs there,
25,000.
because that's where we have our account. I thought it'd be good to have everything in the same spot.
check
But
Black Hills.
if we want to change banks, I've always been a little uncomfortable with the fact that one person could get on the signature card, could get a hold of basically $10,000 pretty quick. But that's, I don't know if all banks are like that or not. Anyway, that's kind of a different issue. I can check on that.
Okay,
Could I interrupt just for a second?
sure.
I think that, number one, I've always advocated that we not be a bank, and we shouldn't be making money. If we're making that much money, it needs to be, we need to start cutting our request for funding in the levy. I mean, I just don't think taxpayers that are going to be talking to each of us are going to go along with us making money on their taxes. I don't know, maybe they will like it. But we should have a vote of this entire board before we go to something like
I
that.
agree.
Getting the best range is the only other option then.
Yeah, I
Okay.
totally agree with that.
Yeah, but we'll have a vote, right?
Yeah, next,
Okay.
it's on the agenda.
Rather than allowing one person to make that decision and go
Yeah,
and do it.
it's going to be on the agenda for the December meeting.
Okay.
See, I talked about the $5,000 septic. This is left over. Trinity Park update, haven't heard from Ken Steichen. Kathy Haveman is our CPA, and I give her kudos for doing last year's work for free. And I guess whether she does this or I do it, I have to get 1099. Somebody has to get 1099s out, so I'll see that it's done. And there's a 2019 financial report that is required for the state. So these are, I guess, slightly two things that I do that are on that evaluation form, but it's pretty trivial. Working with financial, somebody else that does the finances. We're not required to do an audit until we hit 250,000 income. Then we're going to have to, if we hit that, we're going to have to start doing an audit every year. And I talked to John Carrero about or I emailed him about the dredging, and basically this is just a quote from his email, but basically they're about 2/3 of the way done. Or I'm sorry, 1/3. Is there anything else? That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any items from the public? Doesn't look like it. I would entertain a
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by James, second by Tom. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.